If one had to choose the river with the most dramatic fate in Asia, it would be the Mekong River. This river, over 4,300 kilometers long, directly impacts the lives of the Vietnamese people. It originates from the Tibetan Plateau, flowing through China, Laos, Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, and ends its journey in Vietnam. This river sustains about 70 million people, creating fertile flood seasons in Cambodia, forming one of Southeast Asia's largest rice bowls in the Mekong Delta, and maintaining a rhythm of life for civilizations in the lower bay. However, in recent decades, people living along the Mekong River have all shared one question. The river has less and less water. Less water, no more floods, sediment disappears, fish don't return, the delta sinks, and salt water intrudes deep inland. The Mekong River now lacks vitality, and what is the cause? The biggest, most powerful, and most profound cause is the series of massive hydropower dams in the upper Mekong, along with many other reasons. Why is the Mekong River increasingly drying up? Welcome to Haitan's story. Imagine the Mekong River as a giant dragon or snake, 4,300 kilometers long. Now, he will tie 11 ropes to its head, corresponding to 11 hydropower dams in China, then add dozens more to its body, meaning dams in Laos and Cambodia. That water snake no longer has the strength to naturally meander. It is held tightly, squeezed, and controlled in every flow. So, how many hydropower dams is the Mekong River bearing? First, visualize that the Mekong River is not like ordinary rivers. It has an extremely important characteristic. 70% of the flood season water comes from the upper basin in China. This means that whoever controls the upper basin determines the Mekong's breathing rhythm. Over the past 30 years, China has built 11 large hydropower dams on the upper Mekong River, which China calls the Langkang River, including two of the most prominent and famous dams, Shaowen Dam. Shaowen Dam is located in Yunnan Province, bordering Vietnam, in the upper Mekong River. It is one of the largest and tallest dams in Asia, standing 292 meters high, built in a deep valley, where rugged terrain makes construction techniques extremely complex. Due to its massive scale, the construction cost of this dam is very high, reaching nearly $4 billion, making Shaowen one of the most expensive hydropower projects on the Mekong River. Its reservoir covers nearly 190 square kilometers, with a huge capacity capable of retaining an enormous amount of water. So whenever this dam regulates or stores water, it directly affects the flood and dry season flows of the entire lower basin, especially Laos, Cambodia, and Shaowen Dam is large, and the other dam, Mujadu Dam, is also very large, also in China's Yunnan province. This dam is over 260 meters high, with a massive reservoir covering up to 320 square kilometers, even larger than Shaowen's reservoir, and a capacity of nearly 22 billion cubic meters of water. This enormous scale makes Mujadu Dam the largest, most powerful water valve on the entire Mekong River, capable of holding water equivalent to multiple flood seasons combined. The construction cost of this dam is even more staggering, around $7 billion, making it one of the most expensive hydropower projects in the region. With such great regulatory capacity, every change at Mujadu Dam in Yunnan, whether storing or releasing water, directly affects the lower basin flow. What does that mean? It means that just about turned from the upper basin, from China's side, Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam, all feel it immediately. But China is only the story of the upper basin. After China built a series of massive dams in the upper Mekong River, Laos joined the game. Laos is a landlocked country with a small economy and therefore, Laos understands that to develop quickly, they need something that can bring immediate money, and they choose hydropower. Laos sets a very clear goal: to turn their country into the battery, power cell, or power station of Southeast Asia. By any means necessary, but in short, to produce electricity, lots of it, and sell it to neighboring countries like Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam. Laos has no sea, no heavy industry, no large cities to export goods, but they have one extremely valuable thing: the stretch of the Mekong. This river stretch is long and has a steep gradient, very favorable for building. Thus, Laos began building dams, not only on tributaries but also directly on the main stream of the Mekong River, right on the backbone of the entire river basin. According to available sources and documents, the number of dams that Laos is building or has put into operation in the Mekong River basin, including both the main stream and tributaries, is specifically listed. Laos currently operates about 77 hydropower dams nationwide, including 2 dams on the main stream of namely the Xayaburi Dam and the Don Sahong Dam. Additionally, Laos plans to build at least 7 more dams on the main stream of the Mekong River flowing through Laos, along with many projects on tributaries. Such names and dams continuously appear on planning maps. Transforming the Mekong River from a naturally flowing river into a hydropower staircase stretching from China down to Laos. Each dam stands there like a gate blocking water, reservoirs holding back some water, preventing a certain amount of sediment, obstructing fish migration routes, and releasing water according to turbine rhythms instead of natural flood cycles as before. Thus, China controls the upper part of the Mekong River, while Laos holds the middle section. The longest and most important part of the when both regulate according to electricity generation needs instead of following nature. The Mekong River is fragmented into separate sections. Each dam holds back a little, stores a little, slows the flow a little. The amount of water flowing downstream will be lower, and sediment will also. Therefore, when the Mekong River flows through Cambodia and Vietnam, it no longer retains its majestic strength as before. Instead of carrying heavy grained sediment and turbulent waters as before, the Mekong River today resembles a tired river, with weak water and no longer abundant sediment. Many people say the river water is now so clear that the bottom can be seen. This is a sign that sediment has been retained somewhere upstream. The entire downstream, especially the headwaters of the Mekong Delta, only receives a tiny remaining portion after the river passes through dozens of hydropower steps. The Mekong River, which once sustained about 70 million people, is gradually becoming a shadow of its former. One of the main reasons is the cascade of hydropower dams from China to Laos. The absence of floods is very dangerous. Previously, the flood season on the Mekong River was a magnet. Heavy grained water and sediment from upstream flowed down, filling the Todlay Sat Lake, nurturing fish, and enriching the delta. The flood's arrival was like a natural appointment, usually starting in July, peaking in August, and being full in September and October. But since the upstream dam cascade began operating, floods occur without any pattern. When there should be water, the river is dry. When the river should be turbid with sediment, it is clear enough. When water should rise gradually, it rises and falls quickly, like someone turning a faucet on and off in a reservoir market. The reason is that hydropower generates electricity according to peak hours, not natural seasons. When electricity is needed, more water is released. When demand is low, it is stored for later. Thus, the river's natural rhythm is completely disrupted. A river that once followed the laws of nature now has to run according to human work schedules and electricity usage needs. The ecosystem doesn't understand why the water recedes as if someone pulled the plug. For Vietnam, the consequences are enormous. Floods arise slowly at the headwaters, water levels are not high enough to push, and the Mekong Delta is subsiding 2 to 3 times faster than before. The livelihoods of tens of millions of people are affected, solely because of water regulation decisions made over 4,000 kilometers away. Previously, sediment from upstream brought about 160 to 170 million tons annually. This sediment helped the Mekong Delta become Vietnam's rice bowl. But currently, research shows sediment is only about 30 to 40 million tons, meaning a reduction of about 70 to 80% compared to before. Hydropower has retained sediment in reservoirs. Sand that was once carried by the river is now also held back. Vietnam is located at the downstream end of the river, so it only receives the meager remains. When sediment no longer replenishes, while humans extract sand for construction, the delta is like a cake being gradually hollowed out from below. Erosion is widespread, with almost no area in the Mekong Delta spared. Areas not eroded are experiencing This delta sinks 1 to 2 centimeters each year, with some places up to 3 centimeters. This is the fastest sinking rate in the world. Not only subsidence but also saltwater intrusion occur. The Mekong River was originally when floods rise, water pushes saltwater out to sea, but when floods weaken, the water isn't strong enough to push seawater out. Therefore, saltwater intrudes tens of kilometers inland, some years up to 100 kilometers. Rice dies, fruit trees also die due to salt. People have to drill deeper wells. The deeper they drill, the faster the salt. This is a vicious cycle with no way out. Additionally, there are natural factors, not entirely due to human impacts on the Mekong River. If hydropower is the direct, then climate change also makes everything worse. The Mekong River depends on snowmelt from the Himalayas. But now, rising temperatures cause earlier snowmelt. Earlier snowmelt means the dry season will not walk. El Niño causes drought across the Mekong River basin, prolonging the dry season. Hydropower reservoirs hold water. This is a problem currently without a solution. So why is the Mekong River increasingly drying up? Please summarize most because over decades, especially the last 20 years, the most critical period, people have turned the Mekong River into a cascade of hydropower. Water is held back. floods are cut off, sediment is lost, and when the upstream controls the water flow, the downstream can only stand by and wait and hope. What will the future of the Mekong River be like? If this trend continues, many scientists predict Tonle Sap Lake could lose 60% to 70% of its fish production. The Mekong Delta could lose hundreds of thousands, even millions of hectares. Saltwater will become the new normal. Flood seasons will become increasingly unpredictable. Dry season, subsidence will excel, and residents of the Mekong Delta may have to relocate in the coming years. This is not a distant scenario, but the reality unfolding before our eyes. Thank you for following this story. If you found it interesting, you can click subscribe to turn on notifications and share. And now, please don't say goodbye. Subscribe to Gian Migo channel to not miss exciting videos.